All right, season 4. We are going to start. It's interesting, the season's starting with the last portion of the book of Bamidbar. The season doesn't go according to the orders of the Parshas. The year is divided into 4. So we have some breaks and then we have the holidays. So this week we're going to discuss the last Parsha. Well, it's actually the second to last Parsha, but the last portions of it's class 1. It's the last portion of the book of Numbers. We're finishing the book of Numbers this Shabbos, and we'll start off with a question for discussion. All right, a lot of stuff happened this week's Parsha. Well, it's double Parsha. There's a lot of stuff in these 2 weeks. We have the laws of vows in this week's Parsha. We have we have the laws of koshering utensils in this week's Parsha. Not if a pot becomes treif. Let's say you buy a pot from a Gentile. These days it doesn't. Why would you buy a pot? I'll buy a pot from Walmart. So it goes to the mikveh. But let's say a pot becomes treif, right? And we have the mitzvah of we have the travels. We have a bunch of things. Evaluation in this week's Parsha. A lot of it. It's a packed Parsha.
Evaluation.
Somebody says, I dedicate my value. I dedicate the value of this person to the temple. And how do you evaluate? Okay, so but we're going to concentrate on one part of the story. There's a story in this week's Torah portion. If you remember from Parsha's Balak, the king of Moab, hired Bilam to try to curse the Jewish people because he realized that they're never going to win in a regular warfare because the Jewish people were naturally a less mighty army than Sichon and Og, the Amorites, and yet they lost. So Balak realized that the Jewish people have some godly favor on their side. So what he did was he thought, let me hire Bilam, who was a prophet. He was a true prophet, not a false prophet. And we'll curse the Jewish people, get the Jewish people on God's evil side, and then we'll be able to attack them.
You do know the story about West Point and why they don't study the Israelis.
Yeah. So what happened is that every time Bilam tried to curse the Jewish people, the blessings came out. Now, the problem with the story, no, I shouldn't say. So Moab is modern day Jordan. The Jewish people, you think in your mind, they're coming from Egypt, which is the south, and they were coming like east and then north. They tried to enter into Israel via the land of Seir, which is Esau's land, and Esau said no. So then they had to go around. That would be like against southern Jordan around there. Saudi Arabia, and then they came to the land of the Amorites. They won them in war, and now they're the land of Moab. So Moab had a reason to be threatened by the Jewish people, because Moab had no idea if God would tell the Jewish people to leave them alone or to fight them. Now we know that God told the Jewish people, don't fight with Moab. You can intimidate them, but you can't actually fight them. The Moabites didn't know that. For all they knew, right? There was another party to the conspiracy to bring the Jewish people down, and that was the people of Midian. Midian is Saudi Arabia. Now, what business did Midian have with the Jewish people? Were they threatened by them? No. Were the Jewish people settling in their land? No. But for whatever reason, well, we know why. Anti-Semitism. Midian hated the Jewish people.
But they are Semites.
Okay, anti-Jewish. I don't know if Midian was Semites, by the way. That's not true. Midian weren't from, no, not from Shem. Oh, maybe they were. I have to look in the book of Bereshit. Maybe they were. I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure if they were or not. Could be they were from Shem. But Jew hatred, whatever you want to call it. So, it said what happened was when Bilam couldn't curse the Jewish people, he told Balak, listen, the Jewish God hates immorality. He hates promiscuous behavior. So the only chance you have to maybe bring them down is to try to lure them into sin via lewd and lascivious behavior. So the women of Moab and a woman of Midian, they went and it seduced the men, and they were very successful. And one thing led to the other, and not only did they fall in sin in an immoral sexual manner, they also did so worshiping idols. And then there was a massive plague, and people died. It was terrible. Like 200,000 Jews died. So in this week's Parsha, Hashem commands, I'm just giving the background to the story here. Hashem commands Moshe to command Pinchas to go and basically destroy Midian. Why Midian, not Moab? Because Moab was motivated by a fear, but a logical or a legitimate fear.
Yeah.
Again, because he had no idea that the Jewish people weren't going to bother them. But Midian just hated the Jews. Why? For no reason. Just it's like Iraq when in 1948. So you can understand it. Lebanon, Syria, Egypt, the ones around Jordan, around Israel, fine, they had a fight. But Iraq is in the fight. What's Iraq sending Scud missiles to Israel? What's your problem? Israel's bothering you? Israel's taking away your land? Israel's threatening you? Israel's threatening your oil fields at all? No. What's it coming from? Hatred. There's no other way to. So if you hate a Jew for a good reason, even if the reason is false, really, you think the Jew open up a shoe store and you have a Nike store, say hey, okay, you may be wrong, but at least that's a hatred we can negotiate, we can talk it through. But to hate a Jew just because he exists, that has to be rooted out. And that's where we're going to talk about. So the question for discussion is: so you say, imagine you got to do something. Imagine you got to motivate a teenager to do something. You're trying to motivate your teenager to stay in camp.
Thank God I don't have to deal with that anymore.
Right?
Yeah. Tell me about it.
What's the best argument? What's the best argument that gets them to do it? I said so.
Yeah.
No.
No, doesn't
No.
work with teenagers.
No. All right.
Because it's the right thing to do.
That doesn't work with teenagers.
So you basically have two ways of arguing, convincing them. Either it's the right thing to do, or it's the right thing for you. It's best thing for you, or it's the right thing, even if you don't understand it to be the right thing. Now, with a teenager, or you can do it for yourself, which way you think is the better, more convincing way to do it?
It's the right thing for you, or
Yeah.
it's the right thing
For you, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
because who do I care about? Me. First of all, the first thing I care about is me. And then my circle of concern goes out. That's why, if you look at the morning blessings, we start off very, very inward, and then we go outward. First, we thank God that I'm alive. What about, want to thank God your kids are alive? Or I haven't had coffee yet. Right? Then you go to the bathroom. Then you stand up and you feel your knees and you see your clothing. And after you go through that whole thing, then you start thinking about God and your family and everything else. At Irani, you don't wake up in the morning and say the first thing, Irani, I hereby accept upon myself to love my fellow as myself. Too much. Wake up in the morning, I can't tolerate you yet.
Oh, my man. People.
Right. You ever see that they sell in Publix and Walmart the disposable coffee cups? So it's like I'm gonna borrow this for a second.
Yeah.
So you have the cup over here. It says, "Don't talk to me."
Oh yeah.
Soon,
Yeah.
not yet, almost, and at the bottom it says, "Okay, now." You know. Right. So usually, when you want to get a person to do the right thing, you would think the best argument would be, unless he's a very special person, the best argument would be you. It's best for you. But if you look at text number 1, where are we? Look at text number 1. Hashem spoke to Moses. Now pay attention to verse 2 and then verse 3. Look at the difference between verse 2 and 3. Verse 2, it says, Hashem tells Moshe, avenge the Jewish people against the Midianites, and afterwards you're going to pass away. Then comes verse 3. Moshe relays the command to the Jewish people, and he says, prepare, arm men from among you, the army, and carry out the revenge of God against Midian. Do you notice the difference between verse 2 and verse 3?
Well,
One is personal, the other is for God.
One is to avenge the Jewish people, and the other one is to avenge God.
mm,
So what's interesting is, and obviously avenging God's honor is very noble. It's the right thing to do. But it's not like the Midianites committed some crime against humanity in Rwanda, and Moses was telling, listen, the Midianites are terrible people, and God can't stand them. It's almost as if God would tell the Jewish people, you have to destroy Sodom. Why? Because they're terrible people. Did they affect me? No, but God doesn't want them. But here, the Jewish people have a bone to pick with the Midianites. The Midianites tried to destroy them. So why is Moshe motivating them avenge God's honor? Why doesn't Moshe use God's words and say avenge honor to the Jewish people?
because Moses screwed up. Yeah,
Those two things don't go together. Question number 1.
oxymoron.
Yeah. Question number 1. Question number 2. This is totally not related. Okay, there's 3 questions. They're all the same question, really, but they're totally different related. This week is Shabbos Mevarchim. The Shabbos we're going to bless the coming month of Av. The full name of the month is Menachem Av. So, like when we bless the month, we're going to say Menachem Av, and on a document, when on a marriage contract or a business contract, you can say Av, you can say Menachem Av, either one. Now, what does Menachem mean? Menachem means comfort. Why is that the name of the month? Because the 2 temples were destroyed. We had the fast of Tisha B'Av, and a lot of other bad things. So, if the name of the name of the month is comfort, who's the father? God. Shouldn't it be called Menachem Ben, comforting of the children? We're the ones who went into exile. Why is it called Menachem Av?
Of his father.
Yeah. So if you look at text number, no, where? But the Av over there refers to God, comforting of the Father. Huh? No, that's the Father, the merciful Father. We're asking God, it was merciful to have mercy on the Jewish people. That paragraph was written by the Crusades. The month is called Menachem Av. We're consoling God, comforting God. What about us? We're the ones that were exiled. Right? Shouldn't it be comfort us? Next question. So we know there's a mitzvah. The Rambam Maimonides says you have to pray every single day. There's a mitzvah. Not just if I want to pray, I pray. No, there's a commandment. You have to praise. You have to praise God, and you have to make your requests. So one way of looking at prayer is God is the one that is in charge, and we're the one that are in need. So God's the vending machine, and we're the customer. So we go in the morning, we make a selection, B5.
Tootsie Rolls, okay.
And sometimes it gets caught. The Twinkies get caught in the machine. We're like, God, no! Right. Yeah, by the way, there was a Super Bowl commercial. It was like 20 years ago, 30 years ago, that was banned because they said it promoted violence, whatever it is. So a woman is trying to get something from one of those vending machines. And it gets stuck, and she starts walking away, and the guy's like, are you going to take that? Are you going to just let it go? And he starts hyping her. She's like, ah! And she like slams into the machine. It was... I don't know why they banned it. It was hilarious. But we all know that's not what davening is about. Yeah, it's true that a part of davening is asking God for what you need, but that's not the relationship we have. That God's like Publix, has a monopoly over the area, and He's the only supermarket. But really, davening is about connection. The Maggid of Mezrich, the student of the Baal Shem Tov, take it a step further. It says that during davening, we're not praying for what we lack, we're praying for what God lacks. What do you mean God lacks? God, the definition of God is He doesn't lack anything. How could you pray that God's needs or whatever is lacking should be filled? So Chassidus explains like this. This class is going to be a little bit philosophical, Chasidic in nature. So Chassidus explains as that what God's lacking is acknowledgement. In this world, He's hidden. Right? Because we don't realize He's here. Well, obviously God is here, God is there, God is truly everywhere. Like the children's song, up, up, down, down, right, left, and all around. Here, there, and everywhere, that's where He can be found. The famous song. But we don't see it. So what's God lacking? Awareness from our part, not from her part. So when you daven, the Maggid of Mezrich says, what you're doing is, who you daven into? You daven to the boss. You daven to Eibishter. So you're acknowledging His presence. You're filling that void. Is it?
Void? Oh, okay.
The void of
got it. Yeah.
Because the angels.
Actually, it goes back to our earlier conversation.
Which is what? I don't remember. We spoke a bunch.
Yeah, but most of it had nothing to do with
Right.
That section just before the bringing together.
The Shem Yichud, the Yichud, when you do a mitzvah, you're uniting the Shechina and God's name. Yeah, exactly.
I'm glad you figured it out because I couldn't put words to it.
I got you. Sorry.
I had the concept, but not the words.
So this is what the Maggid says in text number 4. So this is how a person should behave as they stand before God. Their sole intention should be to bestow energy into the Shechina. This is what the Talmud says. One who stands to pray with a heavy head. In other words, the head of all heads, though a Jew requests their own needs, really they should have in mind that God and Ha should lack nothing. Now, again, this is a very nice concept. But, I mean, this is something, the Maggid, but on a regular person, we're davening for cupcakes in the lottery. As you see, one rabbi said the Rivash. He said, "I daven like a crying infant, a mind of an infant. What does an infant want? Food, sleep,
And a dry diaper.
right? So, but the Maggid of Mezrich his approach is a nice approach. But again, it would be a lot easier to say, I pray for me, and then once I but once I elevate myself or I work on myself, I can think outside myself, then I can think about other people.
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
Doesn't. It's almost like I went to your Rosh Hashanah and said, I want you to pray for someone else to have a good year. It's like, can I pray for me to have a good year? No, don't think about yourself. I mean,
Yeah. But wait until tomorrow.
Right, exactly. You're my first priority tomorrow, right? So one way. So let's start with the answer. Well, we'll start like this in a. The whole premise of the question is that God and the Jewish people are two separate entities. There's God and the Jewish people. So first of all, the verse tells us that God is a parent and we are the child. And a parent and child are always connected. Even if they're separated by distance, they're always connected. And a parent, we're talking about this today, like who misses who more in camp? Does the kid miss the parents more, or the parents miss the kid more?
Yes.
Usher came home yesterday, Cyril didn't stop hugging him. Like, okay, good luck, Shane. Right? Hugging him, kissing. Poor kid. So it says you see. As you see in text 7, in the Gemara Sanhedrin, Meir says, he said that when a person hurts, the Shekhinah hurts because it's not that you're a separate entity. So a parent feels a child's pain. I think I've told the story before that when my nephew passed away, my brother was crying, obviously. No, maybe it was by the first day of Shiva, I remember. And then my father was crying. And they asked my father, why are you crying? I don't know why you're crying, but obviously know why. But I can't remember the exact framework of the question. My father said, it obviously hurts me that my grandson passed away. But it hurts me more to see my son in pain. Powerful answer.
Yeah.
Right? So we think that so first of all we have to get rid of the idea that God up there doesn't care, or no, he doesn't care, obviously he cares, but he's a separate entity and we're trying to get his attention. Hey, pick me. That's
Yeah.
there's a nice story, about davening. So this guy, he would so he says he many times said he would come into, I think he's from Canada or something. Let's see. He would come to speak in New York, and I think it was in Canada or whatever it is. And whenever he would come, he would always leave Sunday afternoon. And after the Rebbe Daven Mincha came into Daven Mincha 3 o'clock. So he made his flight for 5:45, 6 o'clock. And he walks into the car service. And the car service is run by, Chasidic Jews. 4:30, 4:35, 4:45. It's kind of like davening, the davening time on Sunday, right? He does, listen, I have a flight on at 5:45. I need you to pick me up at 3:30. No garbage. 3:30. And he tells him, hey, we're picking you up. And he walks out. He comes back in and said, you didn't even ask me where to pick you up. I'm sorry. Yeah. 770. Yeah. 100%. So the Rebbe walked into Mincha 3:20. And they're having that small room. And the guy's trying hard to concentrate about his davening, but he's so worried about the taxi and the flight and everything else. He's here. I'm in the room with the Rebbe. I'm trying to daven and I can't daven. Next to him is this chassid who's davening and he's shaking and his eyes are closed and his tears are coming down. So this guy must be going through a lot. He came to daven near the Rebbe and he probably needs a blessing for health, for wealth, whatever it is. So he's saying, hopefully the Eibishter should answer his prayers. But he felt bad, that he couldn't concentrate. Anyway, he's waiting for the taxi. All of a sudden a rickety car, duct tape with the muffler, you know what I'm saying? A wire for the antenna, remember those?
Coat hanger.
Coat hanger, there you go. Coat hanger for the antenna.
I know that car.
You know that guy, right?
Good times.
It pulls up, and you know who the driver was? The taxi driver. The taxi driver was the chassid standing next to him that was davening with intense concentration. That was a taxi driver. And he realized that guy didn't have any problems. That's just the way he davened mincha. He was all worried about everything else. But he realized when he daven, you're connecting and there's nothing else. He said it left up a profound impact. Okay, so let's get to the Kabbalistic side of things. You ready? You should be familiar with some of the topics that we're going to introduce because we brought it up before, but so hopefully you remember them. I know we haven't had class in a while. So
I'm an old person.
You're an old person. All right.
Keep telling yourself that, you'll believe it.
Yeah, exactly. So there's God. I'll start from the beginning, okay? God is the origin of everything, all right? How do things exist? From godliness. What's godliness? Godliness is an expression of God. Okay? Now, in order for something to exist and have its own conscience, to understanding of itself, what's that word when you have awareness of self?
Self-aware.
There's a word for it. There's a word for it. Yeah. When you're aware of self. Yeah. When you can see, when you can visualize yourself outside yourself.
Yeah, I know there's a word for it.
Yeah.
But it's-
It's my tongue. Anyway, so that can only happen when godliness. Let's not lose the class for the. That can only exist when godliness is diminished. Not literally, perceptively, because nothing actually diminishes God. I mean, God diminishes.
the word for self-aware.
God diminishes. Next time you got to leave this on in the car. God diminishes His godliness in order that there can be different creations. Now, depending on the level of the diminishment, or the Hebrew word we learned this in Tanya, tzimtzum, contraction, constriction, limitation.
Introspection.
No. It says
Stop being distracted.
No.
So the more it's limited or hidden, the less godly it's going to be. Okay, so let's take for example the sun. The sun is a tremendously powerful creation. You can only look at it. You look at the sun and you say, "Wow, it's incredible." That's, everybody wants to look at the sun. Everyone goes crazy when there's a solar eclipse, right? So the sun is a greater expression of godliness, because you look at the sun and you're awed by it. A rock, for example, there's very, very little godliness. A rock doesn't impress you. Maybe there's one sun and billions of rocks, but the point is that you have in creation, you have basically 4 categories of creation. You have the human, the animal, the plant life, and the inanimate. Everything comes from godliness. Everything comes from one God. The difference is that in a human being, there's more revelation of godliness, or there's less limitation, put it that way. And in a rock, there's tremendous amount of concealment of godliness. So you don't see, it doesn't move, doesn't do anything. You think it's just sitting there, it's not alive. So all that make sense? But is there really a difference in between? Is there a difference in the quality of godliness? It's the same godliness. The only question is how it's perceived. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you have the sunlight, and you can have blackout curtains. You can have light darkening curtains, and that'll just change how much light comes into the room. But the light is the light. Yeah. Okay. So now that that's what the Alter Rebbe explains in Tanya. God animates everything. There is nothing that God doesn't give energy to. In Tanya, we're calling this, everything has life force, nefesh. Like the angels, for example. The angels are in a state of subservience constantly. The angels don't have a problem with authority. Why? Because they are in the presence of greater revelation of godliness. And the more you're in the presence of greater revelation, the more you're in the presence of greatness, the less you feel your own being. So let's say, I've never been to the Grand Canyon, but let's say you go to some great site, takes your breath away. Why? Where does that saying come from? Because no matter what you're going to say, it's going to be limiting. You're in the presence of greatness. So what do? You're quiet. Wow. Right? when you're next to a great person, wise, something else, you don't talk. You're standing next to Michelangelo, you don't give your opinion on art. You're standing next to Michael Jordan, you don't discuss basketball, right? You stand next to Babe Ruth, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But the Rebbe's Farbringen, who spoke every time? The Rebbe. Who else is going to speak? Nobody. Right? Mm-hmm. So an angel is in a constant state of subservience. Why? Because there's greater revelation of godliness. But angels are created beings also. Just a side story. I know we're in the middle of the class. So we're on a plane with 53 girls, right?
Sounds like so much fun.
Oh,
Go ahead.
I was thinking the same thing.
It wasn't too bad.
Teenage girls to boot.
Yeah. I mean, by the way, the plane got so nervous they were moving around. They turned on the seatbelt sign for the whole flight.
They what?
They turned on the seatbelt sign for the whole flight.
So
the girls wouldn't move around.
Yeah, but they weren't doing anything. They were okay. It's true, but then they got angry. The girls moved around. I said, "What do you want? The girls have to go to the bathroom." What do you... Anyway, this guy comes over to me in broken English. Today's my birthday. I said, "Listen, if you want to speak Spanish, you can speak Spanish." I got a lot of practice. He still insisted. And I said, "Can I ask you questions?" Yeah, sure. It says in Daniel 11, verse 7, when someone does that, right away they're a Christian or something.
Yeah.
Jews, this is going to sound terrible what I'm saying, but Jews don't quote Daniel. The Jews quote Gemara, quote Mishnah. And also, when we quote the Torah, we quote usually the more known stuff. Not that you should learn Daniel, it's part of the Torah, but who knows verses of Daniel off the top of their head? So I said, "Listen here, I'm not interested. I don't want to debate." No, debate. I said, "Listen, let's just, you believe what you believe, I believe what I believe." "No, but you never read it." I said, "Yeah, I did read it, but I don't know off the top of my head. I think I remember the whole book of Daniel off the top of my head. You crazy?" I said, "I'm too busy with the Yankees." No, I didn't tell him that. Thus I say, "Hey, I don't remember it by heart." So anyway, I said, I don't want to talk about it. He says, "Can I ask you a question?" He says, "Yeah, sure, ask me a question." It says on day number 6, so God said, "Let us make man in our image, and in our form, in our image." Who's God talking to? Isn't that a proof that he's talking to that guy? Right? I said no. No. So I gave him Rashi's explanation that God created the angels on day 2, and out of his humility, because the angels are threatened by man, because man is part angel. Man has an element of animal and an element of angel. We have a godly soul, and we have, this is 101 of Tanya. We have the animal soul and the godly soul. So in order to, make shalom, and God could have just imposed it. God said, "Guys, come, let's do it together." So he said, "You know something? I never understood." This is what he told me. "I never understood why Jews don't believe in JC. There's a clear reference in your Torah." I said, "Okay, thank you for asking." Then he went back to his seat. Like 10 minutes later, I turned around and see him talking to one of the girls, and I went off on him. I said, "Do you have any questions? You talk to me. You have zero permission to talk to my girls." Says, "Religion? I'm the teacher." Yeah. "Oh, no, I didn't mean anything." Anyway, so everything comes from God. An angel is a tremendous revelation of godliness. In fact, an angel is such a tremendous revelation of godliness, they don't understand why we're busy with Ragalach.
Because I know he likes it.
Right? They can understand it. And then a rock is so everything comes from those 4 levels. But there's a difference. See, there are differences in quantity and quality of the energy that sustains them. So a rock has less. Gilui means revelation. And a human being has more. And the sun has more. This is verse 8. This is text 8. And the more you see God, the more you can't. I was listening today, little clips. So what's that? The big astronomer, Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Mm-hmm. Astrophysicist.
What do I call him?
Astrophysicist.
What did I call him?
Astronomer. He doesn't look. He explains.
So he said something very interesting. He said, talking about the axis of the world, and he said that if the world would spin slower, we'd fall to the sun and we'd burn. The world would spin faster, we'd spin out of control and further, and we'd freeze. And I'm listening to this, I'm thinking,
It's the rotation around the sun, the speed of the rotation, not the speed of the.
whatever. I remember exactly, but I was thinking,
If we orbited faster or slower.
right,
Yeah.
faster, or slower. That I don't remember. One of the two. The cycle of the Earth itself, or the axis, whatever it was. And I'm thinking, how could a person listen to that and think it happened on its own? It's just.
Oh no! The more I listen to him, the more I see it's like, because I think he's great about how he explains some stuff. It's like the more you know that
You don't
God
know.
no.
Yeah.
The more you know God exists, because the complexity and the more complexity with the newer telescopes, they can see farther. It's like with each one they learn more. That's great, but it also shows how much more complex everything is.
Exactly. So the more you know, the more gilui, the more revelation there is, the more you come to know the truth.
Yeah.
Tzimtzum, constriction, or helam, concealment, leaves you in the dark. You're not sure if there's a God. You know what? Gilui, revelation, tells you there is a God. So the more you know, the biggest problem that modern day society has is that we think we know everything already.
Oh yeah. No.
That's the biggest problem. I was listening to something this last week. I said, the guy was saying, doctors, the problem. He said the problem that people have in against the medical community is that they say things too absolute when they don't know. They're talking about the COVID vaccine, and they found out this, and they found out that, and there's different things. He said, for example, they just found out 2 glands in the mouth or something. They keep finding stuff out. So just come out and say, this is what we know now.
Yeah.
Right. So and this is what the this is what the Semach Tzedek is going to explain. This is text number 9. And he says, here we go. God's energy flows to the world through the medium of spheres. These are the vehicles God created to carry life to creation. So God created a process to filter and water down godliness, because if they weren't watered down, you would not be able to experience them. So the watering process, the general filtration process, is called Seder Ishtalshlus, and there's various degrees in Seder Ishtalshlus are called spheres. Now that the godly energy that flows through the 10 spheres is limited to and defined by the contours of the vehicle, as opposed to the infinite light of God Himself, which is unlimited and defined. It follows, though, that God's energy is also shaped by the characteristics of the vehicle. So if God's energy flows through chesed, kindness, you can experience kindness. So there's the sun, and then there's the window pane. So if, let's say we have a bunch of windows in the shul, and we have one window that's red, one window's blue, one window's green. So and let's say I put a wall between each window. And I ask somebody, what color is the light? Someone's going to say it's red, or blue. But are they right or wrong? They're all right. They're all wrong. Not wrong. That's how you experience it. So when God's energy flows through chesed, that's the way it's chesed now. But that's godliness. But God Himself, it's called atzmus. Atzmus means the essence. It's interesting that what plays God more, the soul or the body?
Plays.
What has godly characters more, the soul or the body? The soul is godly. Soul's godly, but the soul can't do anything.
Yeah.
I mean, if I asked you to define God, not define God's ultimate character trait, but the fact that He's it's creation, right?
Okay.
Something from nothing, right? Eternity. human body has that idea of creation, procreation, right? Eternity. That's why women are more connected to men than more connected to God than men are. Women are more godly, because Kabbalah explains, because women have the idea of eternity inside. Because the woman has the uterus with the eggs, and she has a girl. It goes on, it goes on forever. So it says the human body is actually more connected to Atzmos, to the essence, than the soul. So look what the Rebbe Rashab says. The life force of us humans comes directly from Atzmos, the essence of God. This is what he says in text number 10. It is specifically in the human body where the infinite energy of God's very essence is expressed. So now going back to it before, how do we get someone to do something? Me or God? What do you tell me about God? It's me. But now that we find out, first of all, everything comes from God, and your body, it comes from the deepest part of God. So it's not you and God or God and me. One and one A. No, it's all they're interchangeable. So he says my pain is your pain. And the Rebbe Rashab continues, text number 11. When God is in distress, it breaks the physical body. For God is most associated with the physical body. The essence of God Himself most relates to materialism, all our lofty spiritual level associated with the soul. But that's all those lofty levels are His godliness. But the essence of God Himself is associated with the body, because only God can create a physical body. Right? The idea of eternity and creation that's the physical body, not the soul. You see, it's true the soul lives forever. Angels live forever. Why? Because godliness lives forever. But angels can't create. The soul can't create. The soul is. What's the only thing that could create forever? Physical.
Oh, okay.
Physicality creates forever. A tree makes another tree, right? Right? The body. That's where you see it. So when the Maggid said, one of the questions was, why do you tell him pray for God? Pray for me. But it's one and the same. When you pray for God, you are praying for you. When God said, when Moshe says, avenge God's honor, he's not saying forget about you and avenge God's honor. No, guys, you and God, it's all the same. When the Midianites attacked you, they're attacking God, and God is attacking you. It's the same. It's the same thing. So look at what the Rebbe says, text 12a. When we feel distress in our world, it's an indication of distress on high. As the rabbi said, when a person is in pain, what does the Shekhinah say? My head hurts, my arm hurts. This then, there's a story. I forgot which rabbi in Israel it was. His wife hurt her foot. So her husband goes with her to the doctor. The doctor walks in, what's the problem? And he says, our foot hurts. It's not my foot, it's not her foot. It's our foot. We're one entity. Our foot hurts. So he says, this then is what we're praying for, the needs of God on high. When that need is fulfilled, it would automatically resolve our needs down here. So our needs are a result of God's needs. So why, going into the month of Av, why was there all these tragedies? Because God was hurting. And when God hurts, we hurt. And when we hurt, God hurts. It says that when the Jewish people are crying, God cries. The Shekhinah is also. And when the Jewish people are in exile, the Shekhinah, God's presence, is in exile as well. It's not there's Him and there's us. We're all together. So, and the Rebbe continues, text 12b. There we go. It says, when a Jew senses a material need, they instinctively pray to God. What do you do when you need something? You pray to God. When all avenues, Reagan told a great joke. This guy's hanging off a cliff on a branch, and he says, God, says, somebody help me. So a voice comes from heaven and says, my son, I hear you. Says, I will take care of you. Says, let go. The guy holding onto the branch says, is there anyone else up there? right? What do you do when you need? You pray to God. This is what it means. Davening. Davening is a chance for us to realize that one connection. So we say, Menachamav, comfort the Father. What about us? No, it's all together. It's all together because when God hurts, we hurt. When we hurt, God hurts. There's a great story. The Rebbe of Ger, Simcha Bunim of Psachia, and he actually started off his life as a pharmacist, and then he became a Rebbe. So he once asked a good question. So in the whole sin of Adam and Chava and the snake, God curses the snake that he's going to eat the dust. So, but there's dust everywhere. And he curses human being that we have to sweat for our bread, and life is hard, and there's poor families, and people are schwitzing and working. The snake got it good, right? He has everything he needs. So he answered. He said, because the snake has everything he has, he never thinks about asking to God. A person understands that he has needs, so he takes time out of his day and he connects to God. So it's like the idea of a poor person is always thankful for what he has. A trust fund kid and never thinks about it. And this is what the lesson of this week's Parshat that Moshe is trying to tell the Jewish people. So you're going to go out and you're going to avenge, and you're going to avenge God. It's not God and the Jewish people are one. So to bring it to a little bit of a modern day topic is anti-Israel, anti-Semitism. I'm not against the Jewish people. I'm against Israel.
Remember we talked about that earlier.
Yeah.
When the Druids were
Who? The Druze.
the Druze, were
Yeah.
hit. It's like
They're not Jewish, but they're Israelis.
Yeah.
so.
And they get very angry, offended if you call them Arabs. They're not Arabs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but
But are they Muslims?
I'm not sure.
I-
No, a lot of them are Christians.
They're not Christians.
A lot of them are.
I think it's related to Muslim, but it's not
Still
Muslim.
going?
It's a little
Still
different.
going? So you were saying,
That's
yeah?
over there.
no, I'm just saying that
No,
we all
Leave it.
we all believe that they are hitting Israel because they're anti-Semites. But basically what they want is they want Israel, they want the land.
No,
So-
they
so-
want more. They want the United States too.
But-
They want to control the world.
But the point I was trying to make, is that you can have an anti-Israeli government stance. You don't have to agree with everything, right? But the motivation over here is not about Israel, foreign policy. A lot of these people, anti-Israel is anti-Jew. It is, I can't say anti-Semites because a lot of these people are Shemites too, right? And that's what Moshe is trying to tell us. A Jew and God are one. They're interchangeable. Sometimes you could say
A lot of Jews that basically act like anti-Semites.
okay,
Right.
because sometimes a person could be sick, and they could have a disease where it attacks their own body.
Okay.
Because these people don't even realize who they are. But all these people, by the way, don't realize that in Gaza and in Damascus and in Beirut, they don't care if you're left wing or right wing. They just care if you're a Jew.
Yeah.
So that's what we have to realize. All Jews are one, and all Jews are one with God, and we're interchangeable. Conclude. Here we go.
Key points.
Key points.
Good point.
Number one, there are multiple instances we find Judaism opting for what would be less than relevant terms. The Maggid taught us that when we pray, instead of praying for our own needs, we pray for God's needs. And then we started to answer, when God created the world, he needed an intense amount of tzimtzumim, constrictions, to screen himself in order that the things should exist. Now, the difference is in different creations. Some are more, we've seen more godly. That's the difference in Gilui. Gilui means revelation. The essence of God himself is called Atzmos, that's aloof from creation. The body of a Jew it stands out from creation and it's directly related to Atmos. When a Jew feels pain, it's a manifestation of God's pain. When we pray, we ought to pray for God's comfort. When God's comfortable, that automatically is going to result in our own comfort. All right, everyone, have a good week. Michael J.